If I look at New Zealand art at the moment, I see a strong Pacific theme, but then that Pacific theme is mixed in with, colonial Western culture, and it's also mixed in with Asian and, Indian, Chinese, and even in African. It's all a melting pot here.
Début de l'été sur Aotearoa. Je troque le froid français avec le soleil pour 37 heures d'avion, une escale et 12 heures perdues, victimes du plus long décalage horaire possible, afin de rencontrer les Kiwi, non pas le fruit bien connu chez nous, mais bel et bien le peuple néo-zélandais. Je vais tenter de découvrir à travers les routes qui composent cette île ce qu'ont à nous montrer, mais aussi à nous dire, les jeunes artistes de ce pays. Photographes, peintres, sculpteurs ou musiciens, ils sont ceux à qui l'on a tendu un micro et qui sont tout comme moi, les premiers à se questionner sur leur identité artistique.
I am Megan Jeliza. I'm originally from Manila, Philippines. I've been living here for more than 6 years now. And I'm an Auckland-based pop surreal painter.
My name is Paul Marshall. I originally come from Thundersley, which is in Essex, which is near London in England. But I've been based out of Auckland, New Zealand now for 18 years.
My name is Flip Crater. I'm a New Zealand singer-songwriter and I play guitar, acoustic guitar, and sort of make indie folk music.
My name's Noel Rawiri Woods. My tribes are Te Atiawa, Ngāti Pro, and I pretty much grew up here in Waifetu, Puketapu Grove.
Cette quête d'une identité artistique s'explique. Le patrimoine néo-zélandais se trouve aujourd'hui composé d'une multitude d'influences, entre l'héritage maori vieux de plus de 900 ans et celui de nouveaux émigrants européens et asiatiques.
We're finding out what Māori heritage means to all of us, even if we don't have a Māori bloodline. And then we're finding out what people from other parts of the world who are recently coming here as immigrants, how do they integrate into our lives and our worldviews? It all comes through art. I mean, art is just an expression of who we are culturally.
When you compare our European history, not necessarily the Māori history, but the European history with Europe, 200 years, it's just like that.
Yeah, in a way, I suppose it's a good thing, that other ethnic groups come to New Zealand, and we're always open to sharing that Māori experience with them. But in a way, as the population increases, and maybe the Māori population decreases, hopefully we don't get shoved to the corner and be forgotten about and be spread out to the general community.
Sophia Minson, peintre néo-zélandaise d'origine maori, a dès le début de sa carrière fait de son peuple ancestral son fond de toile, offrant ainsi aux yeux de tous l'authenticité et l'importance de la présence d'une telle culture.
I grew up in Auckland, but I've also lived with my family overseas in Samoa and Sri Lanka when I was in my early teenage years. when I returned to New Zealand, age 14, and I started painting about my experiences and about many different cultures and ways of life. So I've done big Sri Lankan portraits and African people, and that then led on to painting Māori people and painting my own family and my own heritage. The strongest identity here is Māori culture because they were here first, and there is that special relationship with the land that goes for thousands of years.
Noel Woods et sa tribu Te Atiawa constituent un pouls majeur de la région de Wellington. Chaque semaine, cette tribu maori met le waka à l'eau pour renouer avec les ancestrales traversées polynésiennes. Il m'offre, à ma plus grande surprise, ce fabuleux haka les pieds dans l'eau qui me laisse évidemment sans voix. L'histoire maori me fascine. Ce peuple de combattants à l'image du haka mène toujours un combat. Depuis qu'en 1840, le traité de Waitangi fut signé entre la couronne d'Angleterre et 40 chefs maoris, le pays porte l'image d'une unification réussie. Mais croire que tout est désormais parfait serait naïf de ma part.
The way Māori were treated during the colonizational period, the way we were just moved around, and particularly here in Waifetu, we used to live in Wellington City, then we got kicked out of our own land so they could build a city. Moved out here to the Hutt Valley, just on the river beat out there, and then once again moved again to where we are now, here in Waifetu.
That history of politics, of colonisation, has been quite an important discussion point in our art making.
Suite à la signature du traité de Waitangi, un des chefs maoris dira alors « L'ombre de la terre va à l'arène, mais nous en conservons la substance ». Un an plus tard, il reviendra sur sa position en disant que c'est l'inverse qui s'est produit. Andrea du Châtaignier m'explique que l'art maori, tout comme les articles du traité, s'est vu lui aussi détourné par certains pakeha.
Māori culture is absolutely unique in the world, absolutely unique. And Europeans have borrowed that culture to promote themselves. So there are these political anxieties that exist. During the 1950s, there was what was called the Māori Renaissance in art making, and led by a lot of influence very heavily by European artists like Gordon Walters, who later were accused of appropriating Māori imagery. Later, the 1970s and 1980s, there was a critique of those borrowings of Māori and Pacific Island motifs as a type of ownership of a culture, using Māori imagery as a way of asserting power in some ways. And that concept of appropriation and appropriating images from Māori culture was a real no-no. It was considered to be very, very bad form and a political problem.
The relationship between the indigenous people, I'm Māori myself, and the, if you like, colonisers has caused issues that, coming down through the generations, there's poverty and drug abuse and all of those things that Indigenous people all over the world have to contend with.
We are from this land, this is our land, and the Treaty of Waitangi was signed in partnership with the Crown, with the knowledge of the protection of our Māori culture, which they haven't done. So there's still that fight there, and it will remain forever, I think. It's still not getting better. Things aren't that great at the moment. We will keep fighting, I think, using music hopefully to help us with that fight.
The band, last band, Te Rōpū Whakamutunga mo te rangi nei. All the way from Waifetu, ladies and gentlemen, I need you fellas to give it up big time. Grove Roots in the house. Here we go.
J'ai la chance de me trouver à Wellington, capitale du pays, pour célébrer le 172e anniversaire de la signature du traité. Noel Woods et son groupe Grove Roots donnent en cette journée un concert et expliquent en quoi leur musique, le reggae, est devenue si importante au sein de la culture maori.
The reggae is very popular among the Māori culture. Reggae music was huge, especially for around the 70s and 80s, where times were tough for Māori, and they used reggae music to keep on track, and used reggae music to get their message out. And in fact, Wellington played a huge part in reggae music in New Zealand. One of the first reggae bands was created here in Wellington in the Porirua area. Bands like Sticks and Shanty, Dread, Beat and Blood. And all of their music was kaupapa Māori, talking about how the government and the Crown are always pulling us down. So reggae and the Māori culture worked really well together in regards to the fight that the Māori culture had at that time, in particular around the 70s and the 80s.
La ville a donc organisé toute une série de rendez-vous culturels et artistiques, entre concerts et performances, visites de l'incroyable musée Te Papa ou encore spectacles historiques. L'honneur est bel et bien ici à l'unification des deux peuples. Je laisse la jeunesse, le charme et l'ambiance de Wellington et retourne sur les routes pour retrouver mon point de départ, Auckland. Pour cela, il me faut remonter 640 km, soit environ 9 heures de route. J'ai rendez-vous avec Flip Gratter, chanteuse et guitariste néo-zélandaise. Elle est également présente sur la scène internationale. Son entrée dans le monde de la musique est le symbole d'une mixité ethnique réussie grâce à un avantage que peu de pays aujourd'hui peuvent revendiquer.
Apparently Auckland is like one of the most culturally diverse cities in the world. I heard something about that Auckland has an insane amount of different cultures represented, which is so fantastic. With any art, you can't help but be influenced by your environment. I think, regardless of whether it's conscious or subconscious, everything that you experience in your life and in your environment is going to come through the art that you produce. That's what creation is, kind of funneling everything around you through yourself in some form or another.
I'm already gone. You are all alone, like a widow born from failing to notice. Was I ever wrong? Was I far from where we started? I'm already gone.
So when I was a child, my family went to church, so we used to sing in the church. But apart from that, my first experience of singing was always through this Māori culture group, kapahaka group that I was involved in through my school. So all of the first songs really that I learned were waiata, or Māori songs. So yeah, I guess it's a big part of growing up in New Zealand is that you are experiencing more than like several cultures really.
Just as I predicted, right where I belong. I'm already gone, I am gone. None of this counts for nothing. A kiss on the mouth means nothing. None of this counts for nothing. A kiss on the mouth means nothing. Means nothing. Means nothing. Means nothing.
Les Kiwis qui suivent me dressent un reflet sur ce que peut offrir la scène artistique néo-zélandaise avec les avantages et les contraintes qui la composent.
It is doable to base yourself in a smaller town and then submit your work in a big city, but I think it's just not the same. Like, you wouldn't get, those same opportunities if you were living in a big city. For example, you can just walk around and then suddenly you meet someone who happened to be doing an art show and, you were showing your work maybe at a cafe and, you wouldn't have that opportunity if you were living in a small town.
Percentage of artists who can be successful, I don't know, 5%, maybe less. I mean, a lot of people want to be an artist. And then in your country, our market, our pool is so small, and even smaller amount of people can actually achieve success from that.
For me, I don't want to be rich. I want to have enough money to do this music and to help it grow for the rest of my life. It's
not greed, it's just wanting to do our chosen profession for a job.
Yeah.
If we went to medical school for 7 years and then leave, we're guaranteed to be a doctor. That's that. Well, I've been doing music since I was 5.
Same. Yeah.
And there's no guarantee unless you want to become a music teacher. I mean, these are options, but there's no set in stone way to do step by step by step and then guarantee to achieve popular music success.
There's a lot of brilliant people boiling away in their little corners, creating amazing things that are innovative. I think that's like a very New Zealand thing.
You can't just have one gallery. You need an agent who will then take you to many different galleries and find you many different opportunities all over the world. I haven't got an agent like that, so I have to be my own agent.
In the UK now, the biggest export of the UK is music, has been for about 4 years. I think if you look at it in New Zealand, obviously our biggest export here is dairy. So, you know, there's dairy, there's fisheries, there's everything else, and then music is I don't know how long down the list, but it's, you know, probably 100 and something.
En plus d'une industrie artistique fragile, le coût de la vie à Auckland est assez élevé, et pour que les artistes puissent s'exprimer à moindre frais, certains, comme Elliot Collins, ont recours à des petits arrangements. Je le retrouve dans son local qu'il partage avec une trentaine d'autres artistes, où chacun possède son espace personnel et essaye de se frayer un chemin sur la scène néo-zélandaise. Il m'explique ses débuts et comment il est parvenu à se trouver en tant qu'artiste.
The art which is just for like a hobby, a weekend thing, not a job, not a profession. I think that's sometimes dangerous because that becomes people get stuck in that. And even to my parents, I have to sort of. I think last year my mum said, "Oh, I'm quite glad you're an artist," but that's taken 27 years to convince her that this is what I want to do. I think I started being a pretty purist painter. I thought that painting was strict images and landscapes and portraits and fruit, like just really quite straight and strict. And as it was probably art school, because as soon as art school arrived, your mind just gets exploded with artists and input. And
comme dans de nombreux pays, la présence et l'influence américaine se ressent, et la langue anglaise que les deux pays partagent n'aide pas la création, mais à l'inverse, favorise considérablement la reprise de programmes américains.
American pop culture is pretty much directly dictating to New Zealand a lot of the time. The mainstream media and the mainstream TV and radio and everything seems to be quite strongly led by American trends and American culture. But yeah, that's the general sort of thing that we notice about New Zealand as far as being influenced by overseas. It's a real strong American presence.
The New Zealand market definitely consumes more music than what it produces. At present, I think we're around 20-25% of Kiwi music is actually played on the radio stations here. So predominantly 3/4 of the music is still coming from overseas, mainly from the UK and the US, as I've said before.
To be honest, the whole world's influenced by America, by Europe. You know, and maybe even Asia, when we eat, fast food from America. We buy a lot of products from overseas. So in a way, I suppose, we're living American. So we're heavily influenced by that, which shows on the radio. We've got a lot of American music, which is disappointing, really. New Zealand music has a lot of respect around the world, and it is evolving. I mean, we've got enough talent here in Aotearoa to play only our music on the radio. We don't really need international influences. But once again, mainstream, the market demands American music, European music. So hopefully one day there'll be so much New Zealand music that's all you will hear on the radio.
That was Spawn Breezy with I'm in Love, and of course he's coming to Porirua City on the 22nd of March, hitting Hill 16, alongside Chan Chambers, also Vintage and local band Grove Roots in support. You can get your tickets from ticketmaster.co.nz, and for more information check out reggaebynature.com.
I've been working here for 2 years now at the Māori radio station, running the breakfast show, and Māori radio stations were created to promote the Māori language. So each Māori radio station have to play 8 hours of Māori music and Māori language and Māori content. The rest of the hours can be in English if you choose to, like we do. We broadcast in English as well. So it's great with regards to promoting our language. And the point of difference between us and the commercial radio is huge. You know, I mean, the opportunity for local artists to come in. And I suppose if I was offered an opportunity to work in mainstream commercial radio, I'd have to think pretty hard.
Since I've been here in the last 20 years, the music industry has seen ups and downs, and I think we're definitely in a down part at the moment. Like, there's live venues that are closing down. The radio stations, there used to be a lot more radio stations that had a lot more program directors. Now, because of the recession, they've all amalgamated, so now there's a specific radio station over here that used to have 30-odd program directors within their radio station. They now have one who programs the entire country. So that's a lot of opportunities missed that have changed over time.
Megan Gelisa me raconte comment, à l'inverse de la pensée anti-américaine systématique, elle a réussi à tirer profit de cette présence et à se trouver en tant qu'artiste. Aujourd'hui, elle arrive à savoir dans quelle catégorie se situer et à avoir le recul nécessaire pour exprimer fièrement ses origines des Philippines, ses influences américaines et le fait qu'elle soit une artiste néo-zélandaise à part entière.
Because it's such a small country, there's not a lot of opportunities for commercialization. So, unlike in other countries wherein, say, an artist can look at a market and say, oh, I want to make this so that I can sell millions of this. There's not like that here. That's a bad thing and a good thing at the same time, because the great thing about it is artists become really sincere about their work. It's like, well, I can't sell out because there's no one to sell out to, so might as well do something amazing. And you'd see that in music, you'd see that in art. And also, being a small country, it's so, and people know each other, everyone knows each other. It's so easy to call someone out if they're bullshitting. It's like, you're bullshitting, like, you know, so it's easy to kind of do that. So people tend to be sincere. I actually wanted to be a writer. So I'm really influenced by literature, and I like whimsical things. I like fairy tale. I like skulls and, you know, candy and unicorn. Around 2003, I discovered pop surrealism, which is an art movement from America. And these artists from LA, they were doing paintings that have stories. And they mixed a lot of, you know, different imagery, and they combine them together, and that's how they tell their story. And when I first saw that, I was like, wow, that's so cool, and that's really me.
Partir à l'étranger est un phénomène très courant pour les Néo-Zélandais. Il offre une alternative aux artistes en quête d'un public ou d'une plus grande scène.
For quite a while, there are bands that have made it in New Zealand and then moved overseas because the opportunities in New Zealand weren't great enough for the band to grow to their potential. So they have always felt that to be super huge, you have to leave New Zealand.
You know, New Zealand only has the population of one city, one international city. It's not enough people. Especially if your artwork is a bit more niche. So that's what I mean about trying to find pockets of audiences all over the world so that my niche markets can add up to a full audience.
If you do anything other than commercial music, it's a much harder way to make money. So
you have to leave New Zealand.
So you have to leave New Zealand if you do anything other, you know, anything sort of different to that. If your stuff's not getting played on the radio, the chances of you making a living out of it is really, really small. So yeah, you sort of leave. And I don't know if that's anyone's fault. I just think that there's only 4 million people in this country. So
there's a few New Zealand bands that are doing really well overseas, and some people might not even know them in New Zealand, but they're really big overseas.
Yeah.
So when you see people, and because New Zealand's so small, you might know them. When you see people you know doing well, then you think,
there's a possibility.
I can do this.
Yeah, it speaks of a possibility.
Yeah, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, we're Dukes. We're from Christchurch, New Zealand. My name's Matthew.
I'm Ali Mitchell.
Brad. And we have a drummer and a bass player, but they're somewhere lost over there. We play
pop rock music, I suppose.
Is the lady all right there?
C'est un groupe originaire de Christchurch. La notoriété qu'ils ont développée leur permet de faire des tournées, mais leur succès ne dépasse pas les côtes néo-zélandaises. Entre répétitions et concerts, je trouve une authenticité et une énergie au service de leur musique qui reflètent bien l'état d'esprit général des Kiwis.
Did a little tour through Singapore and Dubai and London, which was really fun.
Yeah.
It's good to play to different audiences. New Zealand audiences are really
difficult.
Well, we think they're quite hard. You have to work hard to win them over.
Yeah. The audience is looking for different things, and there's that possibility and potential for your music to work in a different way, or to speak to someone in a different way. So that's exciting. And I think for New Zealand music, you know, right now everyone's really excited about, you know, this acoustic reggae sort of style, and but it moves and things change, and I think you can contemplate the possibility of a career in music at 12 or 13 means that their advancement is that much faster and that much quicker. So I think that's exciting. Just getting into it young and getting great advice young and understanding the industry young.
Je retrouve Flip Gratter à Paris quelques mois plus tard pour la promotion de son dernier album et l'enregistrement du prochain, qui sera une collaboration avec des artistes locaux. Il est alors plus que temps de voir si tout s'est déroulé comme elle le souhaitait.
I think partly as also I wanted to be in Paris because I always dreamed of living here at some point in my life, so I'm happy that I have, and I will continue to next year, because despite or regardless of what I've achieved or will achieve here work-wise, it's just great to have achieved one of my life dreams, which is to spend some time living in Paris. My plans were to promote the last album here when Vicious Circle released it, and to write and record my next album, my fourth album, and I've done all of that now, so I extended my trip by a couple of months, so I've been here 8 months in total, and the audiences are really nice. In fact, some of my favourite shows ever have been here in the last 8 months. Like playing at Nouveau Casino to like a dead silent 200 people. Amazing. So I'm hoping that French audiences like, in the same way that French friends, just take a little time to warm up, but once they're there, they're really committed. So that's what I'm finding so far, and I think that audience is starting to grow, and I think it's going to be really good. I'm looking forward to that. to returning next year and playing more and more shows and building that.
Il faut le reconnaître, les Néo-Zélandais possèdent ce que chez nous, nous pourrions qualifier maladroitement de patriotisme. En réalité, c'est totalement différent. Ils ont une attache, une connexion avec leur terre qui se ressent après un passage à l'étranger.
When I am overseas, I definitely miss this country. I don't miss the music scene. It's definitely easier to find shows to play over there. But personally, you know, I miss the ocean, I miss the fresh air, I miss the greenery, you know. And it's a personal thing. It's like my music is pulling me elsewhere, but my person is wanting me home. Lots of young people really like traveling and they get a lot out of it. Most of them come back here and start careers and set up their life, but before they do, a lot of people travel. A lot of Australians travel too. I think it's because we're so far away from everything that people grow up with a natural curiosity as to what's out there.
The desire is to perhaps live in New Zealand and be recognised as a New Zealand artist, but not have to shift and live somewhere else.
Personally, I would love to be successful in the place I live in. I want to, I want the people that are close to me to be able to, come and see me whenever they want and play. Everyone wants to be successful in their own hometown. It's pride, isn't it?
Voici la fin de mon voyage sur Aotearoa. Les artistes que j'ai rencontrés sont aujourd'hui fiers de représenter leur pays. Je pense que leur principale recherche est un plus large public, et même si l'outre-mer peut être perçue comme une solution, c'est sans aucun doute que leur île est et restera un lieu unique du monde artistique.
Where I fit into the scene, I'm still played overseas on alternative and student radio, but there's the novelty factor that I'm from New Zealand. In New Zealand, it's not a novelty that I'm a Kiwi, but in Germany, in France, then people are like, whoa, she's from New Zealand, and it's kind of an interesting point of difference.
My New Zealand personality is going to influence my accent, the way I say sentences, the way I think about the world. All of these things make us New Zealanders and make us Kiwi, and so definitely all of that stuff would affect my music, even if I'm trying to sound like someone from England or someone from America. If bands like ourselves insist on doing their own approach to the music and just ignore the funding and ignore the cliquey Scenester BFM attitude of you don't sound exactly like us, so you're crap. If more people ignore and just persevere, then something has to give at some point. It might not be us, but someone might listen to us and someone might listen to them and so on, and finally we can change.
New Zealand music industry needs a stronger underground scene. I think there needs to be more venues and more pub owners willing to support local music at ground level. You need to be able, if you go to the UK, for example, there are so many small pubs and caverns where you can go in there and see bands you've never ever heard of, and they're out there sweating it out really, really hard. I think for New Zealand music to develop, you need to have that facility to allow young songwriters a chance to perform their music.
Now, I think also long term, there's good and bad sides to that. The reason I love living in New Zealand is because no one knows about it and there's not many people here, and it's great. It's our own little paradise. So if suddenly this became the next LA or the next London and suddenly 100 million people come across here, then this would be a hellhole to live in. So, so there's always good and bad with things.
There's a perception that to be and I had this perception that to be an artist in New Zealand or anywhere in the world, that you were going to be poor. You would live a life of poverty. But what I discovered was that you have to be a business person, and you have to really sell yourself and find new avenues. And a lot of artists here in New Zealand don't know this yet, but they will find out, and there will also hopefully be more opportunities because there are so many New Zealanders who would love to be artists.
The world is happening somewhere else. Are we good enough? We're so far away. Are we relevant? And even to be asking those questions is an immature question. That's a young country's question. Of course we're good enough, but we're here. This is us.
So I pick up my things, the ones that you didn't need. When you ravaged my kitchen, left with something to eat. Now you took what you wanted, and you left me with the blues. And that's all you get when you're broken into. La-di-la-la-la-la. Just come in with a crash. Oh, baby, stole